I on? Can you hear me out there? Can I be heard? Okay. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. We have a few more folks coming, so once they arrive, we'll get started with the workshop. Good evening. We have a few more people coming, but we'll get started. My name is Michael George. I'm with Safe1 Credit Union. On behalf of Safe1 and MoneyWise Wealth Management, we would like to welcome you to tonight's workshop. For those of you that are in attendance, as well as close to 100 people that are joining us via live stream. So we welcome you in tonight's workshops entitled Making the Most of Social Security and Retirement Income Strategies. And as you know, navigating the Social Security environment can not only be complicated, but confusing as well. And that's why you're here tonight, because we don't want you to do it alone. We want to be here to help you with that. Tonight's workshop is designed to get you the information you need in order to maximize the benefits necessary for a successful retirement. Our presenter tonight is Justin Leland. Justin's right over here. Justin is a financial advisor for MoneyWise Wealth Management. He's a registered representative. He's got several titles. So he's a fiduciary financial advisor, certified financial planner professional, accredited investment fiduciary, and co-host of the MoneyWise Guys radio show and podcast. In addition to assisting individuals with their financial planning and retirement, he also helps construct and manage the most strategic, optimal plans that benefit both employers and employees. In his downtime, Justin loves to camp and hike with his family. He also likes to play music, and he cooks a mean chili, which I want to try. During tonight's workshop, Justin's going to offer several ways in order for you to maximize your Social Security benefits and also describe various claiming strategies, such as how married couples can enhance lifetime payouts, spousal and survival benefits, the impact of working on future benefits, taxability of Social Security income, as well as Medicare. So you can see there's several topics that he's going to discuss tonight. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin Leland from MoneyWise. So please welcome Justin. You want this?
Thank you very much, Mike. Mike and I go way back, pre-MoneyWise and pre-Safe1, I think, right, Mike? We've known each other for, what, 14, 15 years, somewhere in there? So thank you, Mike, for the great introduction. As he said, my name's Justin Leland, certified financial planner, credit, all the good stuff, right? All that stuff. Don't need to say it again. And what we're here to do today, give you the disclosures, make sure we're doing what's right for you, right? Our commitment, MoneyWise's commitment to you, provides sound financial information, help you identify your goals, and really to strategically prepare you for your future. And that's what this is about here, talking about Social Security. Okay. What is Social Security? Social Security is basically lifetime income. You pay into it as in your working career. It's a guaranteed source of income and provides a certain level of longevity protection, kind of similar to an annuity, and protects spousal protection and even some inflation protection because of COLA adjustments. It was considered the old age survivors and disability insurance. Say that 4 times fast. Signed into law in 1935 during the Great Depression by FDR, part of the New Deal. And Social Security remains a very important piece of your retirement longevity and your retirement benefits. Okay, who's eligible? And we're just basically doing this really high level at this point. Obviously, if you have any questions, hit me with the questions. We got a couple of mics running around. So if you're a worker for a business and you've put in what's known as 40 credits. Now, what is a credit? Winds up being you get 1 credit for every quarter that you work. So basically, to get 40 credits, you got to work for 10 years, off and on throughout your working career. You can be the spouse of an eligible worker or an ex-spouse who was married for at least 10 years to an eligible worker, or a surviving spouse. We'll get into survivors benefits a little bit. That's a little bit of a different conversation than normal Social Security survivors benefits, but we'll get into that. Who's ever heard of SSA.gov? Show of hands. Okay. Who has gone on to SSA.gov and actually logged in and seen what your benefits are? Okay, thank you. Those of you who didn't raise your hands, shame on you. Go to this website, put in your information, Social Security number, all the good stuff, and create your online profile with SSA.gov. What that will do, a lot of the questions that you may have for me, I can answer a lot of general questions, but I won't be able to get into your specific situation, right? Unless I see a little bit more information. So specific information to your specific situation, a lot of those answers you can find directly on this SSA.gov website, okay? Remember, Social Security no longer sends statements anymore, right? They just stopped doing it. You got to go on this website to see what your benefits are, okay? So SSA.gov. Trying to point it there, but there we go. Okay, COLAs, cost of living adjustment. Every year, there's a little bit of a benefit increase from what your normal benefit is. We'll get into the actual calculations on benefits in a minute, but just understand that COLA is a cost of living adjustment. Who knows what the cost of living adjustment was for 2022 coming into 23? Like 8.7%, right? Because inflation was so high. Well, 8.7% was the kicker on Social Security. We're going to have another one this year because inflation has still been relatively high going this year. Don't know what that number is going to be, but I would expect at least 4%. So we're looking at another COLA adjustment. You can see over the past, 10, 12 years, the average, since 1975, the average COLA adjustment is 3.6. Some years it's higher. Some years it's a big fat 0. But overall, you get about a 3.5% increase year over year. Okay. When can you claim Social Security? This is really the basic stuff. This is the part that trips some people up. Hey, I can file at 62. I'm going to start taking my money at 62. You can do that. There are some problems with taking it at 62, however. We'll talk about that. Full retirement age is anywhere from 66 to 67. Anybody born after the year 1960, your full retirement age is 67. If you're before 1960, it's 66 and a couple of months, whatever that is. The latest age at which you can file would be 70. Okay. Surviving spouses can claim survivor benefits at age 60. This, again, goes into survivor's benefits, but we'll talk about that here shortly. And full retirement age varies depending on your year of birth. This is a lot of gobbledygook, and it's a very busy slide, but basically what it means is if you file, if you're born, let's say in 1958, your full retirement age as far as Social Security is concerned is 66 and 8 months. Meaning at 66 and 8 months, you get the benefit that you would be entitled to. Now, there's an effect of if you file early or if you file late. From your full retirement age, if you file early, you're taking an 8% hit per year that you file early. So you can see these calculations that I'll say right now, I am at this part, 67. If I filed at 62, let's say that my benefit at full retirement age at 67, let's say it's $2,000 a month. Well, if I file at 62, I'm only going to get $1,400 a month because of the fact I filed early before my full retirement age. If I wait and I don't take it at 67 and I wait until 70, I'm getting basically an 8% growth rate on that money every year that I didn't take it. Now, this is not based on a year. It does go up each month that you withhold or not take it or take it early. But there are penalties, not penalties, but there's a discount for filing early. Any questions on that at this point? I know it's a pretty loud slide. Okay. So we're going to do a quick little bit of a hypothetical. So Todd, born in 1959, full retirement age of 66 and 10 months. At 62, let's say his full retirement benefit at age 66 and 8 months is $2,000 a month, just like I said before. If he files at 62 using that prior multiplier, his benefit is only going to be a little over $1,400 a month. If he waits until he's 70, you're looking at about a $2,500 a month benefit. Look at that annually, though. $17,000 if you file at 62, $30,000, almost double if you file later. Do it, the benefits are better for it to file later. The later you can, the better. Okay, then we look at Marion, born in 1960, same situation. Full retirement age at 67, full retirement benefit $2,400. You can see the difference there of about $15,000 annually here. I've run this calculation probably 100 times. Chris, how many times have you done the same calculation? Chris Pelster, one of our other wonderful financial advisors. We got LaTroy down here, another great financial advisor. We've done this calculation probably 100 times each. And what this basically shows is if you file early, the catch, if you file early at the age of 62, your total benefit, because you're getting a lesser amount each month, that curve that goes up, it's kind of flat. The later you wait to age 70, you're getting more money per month. So what we're looking for is where's that inflection point between filing early and filing later, and what age do you have to live past to be able to make more money by filing later? Almost every single time that we've run this calculation, that inflection point is somewhere between the ages of 80 and 82. Okay? So if you reach the age of 65, 67, and let's say you have longevity in your family, you're Your parents lived into their 90s. Your grandparents lived into their 90s. You're probably going to live into your 90s. You're in pretty decent health. Probably better to wait until you're 70 because you're going to make more money that way in Social Security. Now, if you're somebody who is forced to retire because you're 62, 63, and your body can't handle it anymore, or you maybe have some health issues, maybe it does make sense to file a little bit earlier. Okay. But in essence, if you believe that your longevity is going to be in excess of 80 years old, typically it's going to be better for you to file at 70. Okay. And this says it assumes a $2,000. I've done it with $1,500. I've done it with $2,000. Almost every single time the calculation comes out very similar. Okay, spousal benefit. So, yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this plot, and so the question was, are we subtracting out the amount that you would be making if you were 70 or whatever? This is basically a dot plot, if you will, of each month that you're filing. So if your benefit is $2,000 a month and it's at 67, remember what I said before, if I'm retiring at 67, if I were to retire with a $2,000 monthly benefit at 62, my payment is only $1,400. It's not $2,000. Correct. And so what we're doing is we're taking that $1,400 a month and we're just $1,400 all the way along. And this is the aggregate, the total amount of money that you would have received using that benefit at $1,400 a month. Okay. Then at $2,000 a month, that graph goes and grows a little bit faster. And then at 70, my benefit was, I believe it was like a little over $2,500 a month. Well, or $2,400 a month. So that inflection point where all the three of those things connect up is around 80 to 82 years old. Okay. Yes, you're not actually getting paid, less. You are getting paid less, but you're not receiving it for, say, that 5 years or 8 years. But you're gonna catch up eventually. Those two numbers are going to catch up. Yes, sir.
Justin, we have a question from online. It says, I am 66 years old and will be retiring at 67. We have a 5-year-old daughter that I understand can also collect some Social Security benefits. My wife is 28 years old and stays home to care for our daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, you heard about Robert De Niro and
Al
we have it here
Pacino.
too,
Al
Al
Pacino,
Pacino,
like
yeah.
89-year-old
Yeah.
grandfather. I guess congratulations.
Hats off. Yeah.
That's a tough one because yes,
cool.
it is true. There is some benefits, but in most cases that is usually for survivors benefits, right?
Okay.
In most cases, but yeah, that's more of a specific question that would be answered by SSA on what their benefits would be when they retire at 67. Okay. Any more questions on this particular slide? Okay. Okay, so for spousal benefit, okay, I'm married. I'm 45 years old. My wife is 42. Don't tell her I told you that. So when I reach the age of 67, let's say I file for Social Security at 67. My wife would be able to, at that point, file for Social Security using my benefit. Okay. And so if my benefit is $2,000 a month, she is entitled to receive half of that. Okay. In most cases, there's a couple of calculations that go into that to determine that based upon her age. But, and we'll get into like the actual calculations here in a minute. But you have to have been married for at least a year. And the spouse, the spouse with the higher benefit needs to have filed first. So I can't work until 67, decide, I'm not going to file. and then have my wife file on my benefits at that point in time because I haven't filed, right? So she has to wait until I file, or vice versa. This is only spousal benefit. This is not. So the question is this based on if I pass away? No. Yeah, I'm not dead yet. Although she might want me to be. No, this is a spousal benefit. This is purely based upon the calculation of when I retire. If I'm getting $2,000 a month in retirement, she would be entitled to $1,000, half of whatever my benefit is. In many cases, however, if she worked outside of the home and was eligible for Social Security, her benefit alone by herself may have been $1,500 a month. Well, which one are you going to take? I'm going to tell her to claim hers. Take your $1,500. You're going to get extra $500 a month. But in some cases where the breadwinner, maybe she didn't work outside of the home, or she her benefit was going to be, let's say, $800 a month if she were to file on her own. Well, she's going to want to take my benefit, half of my benefit. Yes, sir. We'll get into the windfall provisions here in a minute. That's the kicker. If you're on STRS or PERS or something else where you have a government pension, big curveball coming at you. Yes. Say that again. Yes. You can absolutely, as long as you meet the age requirements. Right. So yes, the question was, can they both file at the same time? Yes, you can. Right. Okay. If claimed at your full retirement benefit age, the spousal benefit would be 1/2 of your spouse's insurance amount. Basically what I said. Now, because my wife and I are, about 3 years apart, if I filed at 67, which is my full retirement benefit age, well, she's going to be 64. She will not have reached the full age. So she will get slightly less than half. So again, it behooves you to wait until you're 70 or wait till the full age. Okay, this is the calculation. So in my situation, if I file at 67, but my wife is 64, she would only get about 42% of my benefit. If she waited until she was 67, then she would get the 50-50 benefit. That kind of, it's kind of confusing a little. Social Security is built to be confusing. It's called job security for the SSA, right? They got to be confusing. So the crux of this is that if you're retiring at the age of 67 and your spouse is the same age as you, you're going to get that 50-50 benefit. Okay. Let's say though, however, that I retire at the age of 70. Remember, we said that my benefit would be substantially more than $2,000 a month, right? Let's say it's $2,600 a month. Would my spouse then be able to claim $1,300? No, she'd only get $1,000 because she would get half of my full retirement age benefit. So that would take it back to the 2,000 number. Throwing some curveballs at people, but you're only able to file as a spouse at half of the full retirement age. You can't also collect on the additional amount for filing late. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. This is the part where it gets really confusing. I know if it gets too bad, we can go next door. There's a graduation party going on next door. So the excess spousal benefit. So let's say, same situation. I'm 67. I haven't filed yet. Okay, I'm still working. I haven't filed yet. I've decided I'm going to file at 70. Let's say my wife decides that she's going to file for herself, her own benefit at the age of 67. Okay. Let's assume we're the same age. There's not a 2.5 or 3 year age difference. Let's say we're the same age. I'm filing at 70. She decides she's going to file at 67. Let's say her benefit is, $1,000 a month. We're going to do a calculation on this. I'll show you here in a second. Because she filed on her own, she can swap it as soon as I file on mine, because half of mine would probably still be more than hers. But there's a calculation here to actually say you took what's known as an excess spousal benefit for the years in which you took it, the 3 years that you took that benefit prior to your husband filing or your spouse filing. Okay, so I know that this is, we don't want to do the calculation. I'll do the calculation for you. Here we are. In the wrong place. Yes, when you're filing for Social Security, you can either file on your own benefits or on your spouse's benefit, and obviously you're going to choose the bigger of the two. Right? So we have a couple here, Sydney and Morgan. Sydney's eligible for a $1,000 benefit at the age of 67. Morgan, eligible for $2,400 at 67. Okay. So in this case, if Sydney claims the early worker benefit, i.e. prior to their full retirement age, they file at 62, they're only going to get 70% of that $1,000, right? They're going to get $700 a month. So 4 years later, at age 67, Sydney becomes eligible for a spousal benefit because Morgan has now gone in and filed for their benefit. So Morgan's filing at 67 and get $2,400 a month. Well, Sydney's been getting $700 a month, and $1,200 sounds a lot better than $700, right? So in this situation, 50% of Morgan's PIA, $1,200, right? Minus Sydney's PIA of $1,000, so it's $200 excess. Because she was receiving the $700 as an early benefit, her combined benefit, you had the $700 and the $200, she would get $900 a month for the rest of her life. I know this is really complex, but the fact of the matter is, by taking it early, you can, effectively create a situation where you're actually receiving less long term than if you just waited until you were 67 and getting that full benefit then. So Sydney in this situation is getting $300 less per month than if she had just waited until she was 67 to file along with her spouse. Okay, survivor benefit. This is where we're going to get into the survivor part. So the spousal benefit, is everybody kind of clear on the spousal benefit? Please say yes. No? If not, I'll stick around for questions. Okay. The survivor benefit. Now that we're talking about a situation where unfortunately your spouse, loved one, has left us. Okay. The spousal benefit is based upon the earnings of the person who has passed away. There's a reduced survivor benefit. You are eligible to file for survivor's benefits at the age of 60, so it's a little bit earlier than normal benefits at 62 or 67 or whatever. So you do get a reduced survivor benefit at the age of 60. Now, full survivor benefit is claimed at full retirement age. So again, if you're in a situation, the issue is if you have a deceased spouse, chances are you may need that money at 60, right? There's lost income. There's all of these other things. So you're probably still going to file it here, but understand that you're getting a reduced benefit. Okay. Full survivor benefit claimed at full retirement age. If you remarry before the age of 60, you will forfeit your survivor benefit while you are married. So stay single. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Oh, I'm good. I'll just speak louder.
I'll repeat the question.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Be a rock star.
My ex-husband retired at 62, moved to Costa Rica, passed away. So he collected early. Now, I know that I would be able to collect because we were married for over 10 years. When would I collect? Am I, so to speak, screwed because he retired early? Does it benefit me to wait until I'm 70?
It would benefit you to wait as long as you can. However,
Okay.
if you have remarried
Nope.
prior, okay, so
Nope.
stay single.
Nope.
So unless the little caveat here, unless the remarriage has ended in divorce or annulment, so it's still time. If you're married and you want to get this, you still have time. I'm here all week. Tip your, yeah, it's not. I'm here all week. Tip your waitress. So anyhow, you are in a way because he has made a choice to take it at an early benefit, which means that effectively, even if you waited until full retirement age, which I'm going to assume 67, means that you're going to still get a bit of a reduced benefit, right? I would still go to ssa.gov. You're probably only going to be able to see your benefit. You won't be able to see your spousal or survivor's benefit. Yeah, I would sit down with a SSA professional, and your situation is very, very unique. Okay, so, okay. Any questions on that? Yes, sir.
If the survivor is, say, a husband,
Mhm.
okay, he dies at 58, all right, and the years keep going, and she never remarried anybody, and she hits 60.
Mhm.
So what benefit will she get if he died at 58? He never made it to 62.
That's fine. It still is based upon his earning credit for the
Okay.
years that he was alive and working.
Okay, that's
So-
where
Yes, and
Based
so yeah,
they'll calculate that. Social Security calculates that.
yes, Social Security will calculate that, and so in that scenario, the living spouse would still receive a benefit.
Uh-huh.
It might not be as much as if he lived into his 60s, but still, there's a benefit there that the spouse would be able to collect on starting at the age of 60
Right.
for survivors
But
benefit.
like you're saying, the longer the better. Forget about
And
his
this is
benefit then in that case. If
Yes.
she wanted more money.
right.
Right.
Now, let's play a little caveat here. Let's say she worked outside of the home and has a Social Security benefit of her own. Let's say that her benefit, exceeds whatever she would make in the survivor's benefit case. Well, I hit the age of 60. I'm going to file survivor's benefits and receive those benefits off of my spouse's work history, all the while still letting my Social Security sit there and grow and do what it needs to do. Then I turn 67. I'm at my full retirement age at that point, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I flip. Now I'm taking my own benefit, which is higher than the survivor's benefits. I can only claim one or the other. I can't claim both.
Oh,
So I get rid of the survivor's benefits, but now I'm taking my full retirement benefit from Social Security at the age of 67.
okay.
So
Makes sense.
there's some strategies there. We'll talk about that.
All right.
Any other questions on that?
We have a question from online. I think it's regarding survivor benefit. Will the benefit ever change when I reach full retirement age?
Yeah, so I think that's the question.
I think you've answered that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you wait for your own benefit, remember you can file on yourself or you can file on your spouse. You can't do both. So the spousal survivor benefit, you can claim that, but then as soon as you hit the age of 67, where you are reaching your full benefit, you could, depending upon which benefit is more, you want to take that benefit.
Good if you hold it. I apologize. I came in a little bit late. I couldn't sort out the flag colors and where they were telling me to go. You were.
Yeah,
I
he was
did
at prom
go there
next door.
first just to see where to go. I heard you talking about the very subject I came here to hear when I first came in, and I caught enough. I think I answered the basic question I had, but now I'm concerned. So my situation is my wife will be 62 this coming February. We were looking at that scenario of her taking early benefits on her record. I'll be 66 and a half in November. I'll be taking mine right at the end of the year. And we were going to wait till she was 67, flip over and take the spousal benefit half of mine. I just wanted to make sure that was doable. I wasn't sure.
It is doable. I'll back up here just a quick moment.
Well,
just so you can-
actually, the question I'm asking now is about my health. It turns out, statistically, I have 7 years, just based on things that are going on heart-wise. So if I was worried now, so if she takes her early benefit, and then I pass on before she's full retirement age, is that then not, she won't be able to receive my full benefit as a survivor?
So in that scenario, I tend to still recommend that people wait as long as possible to file for any benefit, whether it's their own benefit or for spousal. Now, in your situation, if you have a heart condition or something and the longevity is kind of a question mark, maybe it is worth it for her to file on her own benefit at that point in time. It might also behoove you to, maybe even if you were to file, you know, again, you get a full retirement benefit at 67, but don't think that, hey, if I file 6 months early, I'm going to lose the entire 8%. No, you're going to lose about 4%. So every month that you wait, you get a little bit of a bump in your benefit. Okay. So you could conceivably file at any time. And if she's filing for those benefits at 62, she'll get a little bit less than 50%, but it may actually work out in your favor. Maybe we sit down and talk about it on an individual case and just kind of go over some numbers. But my initial inkling is your situation might be a little bit more nuanced and probably need to do a couple more calculations. Which one makes the most sense? If that makes sense.
Your answer doesn't fit what
Yeah,
I'm thinking in my head.
I'm sorry. It's a very individualized question, and I don't want to misspeak. So yeah, let's talk after, and we'll maybe give you a better answer. Yes, ma'am.
Old, and my husband passed away at 50 years old. And I was wondering, can I claim his Social Security? I still work full time. I plan on full retirement. But do I have to limit what I make?
No.
Can I just
Yeah. So the question is, this goes into kind of the what you're asking a question about, and we'll talk about it here shortly, which is the earnings calculation. If you make too much money, then you get penalized. This is not the case. If your husband passed away, we're talking survivor's benefits. That's completely separate than your Social Security and whether we need to deal with anything like that. So in your case, you hit the age of 60, you know, depending upon what your needs are, remember, you're going to get a reduced benefit on survivor benefits at 60, but you're still working perfectly fine, right? And you're going to be continuing to earn credits and putting money into Social Security. So when you retire at the age of 67 or 70 or whatever you choose, you're going to get your full benefit, and you'll stop taking your late spouse's benefit. Does that make sense?
Can you now, correct?
Yeah.
She wants to, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, at the age of 60, you can start taking that survivor benefit, which basically would be a reduced benefit, but you would get something from Social Security based upon your late husband's work history. Yes, ma'am.
Is it taxable income?
That depends. We'll get to that. You're stealing my thunder. Right. Is it taxable income? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so
Justin, we just have a couple of questions.
right.
This is, will the benefit, oh, I'm sorry. If I stop working at 62 and do not collect until 67, will I be penalized in any way?
no. That's an easy answer.
That's the only one I see. Okay.
Yes. That's an easy one. If you stop working at 62 and you do not claim, nothing happens to your Social Security. Now, you may, because you haven't worked, and you usually in our 60s, that's our, late 50s, early 60s, peak earning years, right? Social Security bases the payments based upon your highest 30 years worth of working and everything else. You might be shooting yourself in the foot for some future benefits, but it's not going to be a penalty, right?
So you reach full retirement, but you continue to work, but you collect Social Security at full retirement.
Correct. You can do
So
that as well.
do you continue to earn credits? You're collecting your Social Security, your full benefit, but you continue to work.
That is a yes, you can do that. We'll talk about that in here in a little bit. But to say that you're going to get a higher benefit, because you have to remember the calculation is based on your highest 30 years. So even if you were 1 year making $50,000 a year, and then the last 2 years of your career you're making 3 times that, it's not going to move the needle that much when it comes to your Social Security benefits on a monthly basis. Yes, sir.
One last question here. I hope I'm reading this right. This individual has survivor benefits. She's a survivor and filed at 62, but her husband had not yet filed yet and then she says for survivor's benefit. So the fact that her husband had not filed is
That's
irrelevant.
Irrelevant. If your spouse has passed away, whether they have filed for benefits or not, spousal benefits or survivor's benefits are kind of separate. So this is a scenario here. There's 3 different scenarios on survivor's benefits. Okay, long and short of it, let's see. We have Janet and Paul. I know this is really, really busy, but in the first scenario, we have Janet and Paul. They both claim at the age of 62. They take early retirement benefits, right? Their combined monthly benefit for basically forever is $2,660 per month, based upon these assumptions here. Okay, $2,600 a month. So their total benefits, if Paul dies at the age of 80, the benefits at that point would be about $575,000. The survivor benefit at that point would only be $1,400, which would basically be Janet's receiving half of, basically receiving that $1,400 monthly payment that Paul was entitled to. Lifetime benefits of $743,000. Okay, in scenario 2, Janet claims at 62. Paul waits until 5 years later at 67. Based upon these criteria here, years 1 through 5, meaning Janet was claiming on her own, but we're not receiving anything from Paul yet. Years 1 through 5, $1,260 a month. 6 years and forward, total benefit of $3,260. Paul dies at the age of 80. Your full benefits at that point, at Paul's death age, would be roughly $500, a little bit less, because they took it for that extra 5 years. But the monthly survivor benefit then jumps. So instead of receiving $1,260, she's now receiving $2,000. Survivor's benefits, total lifetime benefit, Janet dies at the age of 90, of about $809,000. The other option, Janet claims at 62, still early retirement. Paul waits until he's 70. Okay, he waits all the way to 70. So years 1 through 8, we have $1,260, same. Years 9 plus, once Paul files, get that extra, $500 a month or so. Total benefits, you can see very similar across the board when Paul dies at age 80. However, the monthly survivor benefit to Janet means that she's making basically double what she would have been making had we done the first scenario. Right? Meaning that the lifetime benefits now are roughly $867,000. So again, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's health is different. Everybody's decisions are going to be different, right? But if we're looking at just hypothetical, very sanitized scenarios, it does benefit you to wait longer. Almost get a question there?
Just a quick question. It's a follow-up to the previous one, and this is about the survivor benefit.
Yes.
Where the individual's getting the survivor benefit and then waiting until 70 to collect on the individual Social
Correct.
Security benefit. The question is, am I stuck with the survivor's benefit only? I think you've answered that. No.
No, yeah. Once you have reached your full retirement benefit, or you've chosen now that you're going to file on your own Social Security, then you cancel the death benefit, that survivor's benefit, and you now receive yours. Okay. Divorce, the big D word. The effects of divorce on Social Security can be wildly misunderstood. Okay, so as a divorced spouse, you may be entitled to Social Security benefits based on your ex's work record. Now, this is one where I hear from time to time somebody say, divorced, they've been married for 10 years or whatever it is, and thinking somehow that your ex-spouse is going to take half of your benefit and then you're not going to get your benefit. That is not the case. Okay? You are still entitled to your full benefit. Your former spouse, your ex-spouse, is entitled to their benefit based upon your work record, but it does not affect you in any way. Does that make sense? So if you were married for at least 10 years and have attained the minimum age required and you are unmarried, okay, so you can't have gotten remarried. It doesn't matter whether the ex has remarried. Your own worker benefit would be lower than that of the ex-spouse's benefit. So remarriage after the age of 60 kind of does not affect the eligibility for the survivor's benefits or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you are divorced or you have an ex-spouse who's going to claim benefits based upon your work history, it doesn't affect your benefits at all. Now, if you are the ex-spouse that is going to use your former spouse's benefits, that spouse would have had to have claimed, and then you would be able to file and claim on your own on that former spouse's benefit. Any questions on this? I know this tends to be a hot topic. Yes, sir.
That is only if you're married. You know, some people live with other, couples 10 years. That's common law in California, but not with the Social Security, right? They don't recognize that, correct?
Yeah, and common law, and this is another thing that's misunderstood, is there's no such thing as common law. Yeah, that ended in 1887. So I know I hear that all the time. Hey, we're a common law. You were living with this person for 7 years, and that's not a concern. But however, you're absolutely right. You had to have been married to the individual in excess of 10 years. Okay. So if you were married for 7 years to your high school sweetheart and you realize high school sweetheart didn't really work out that well, and then you get divorced, well, your high school sweetheart's not going to be able to file on your benefits because you never hit the 10-year number. Okay. So the question I always hear is, well, what happens if I'm married to somebody for 12 years, we get a divorce, and I'm married to somebody else for 12 years, and I get a divorce, and I'm married to somebody else? Yeah, guess what? They're all going to get half of your benefit. That's the way that works. Equal to half of yours, correct. Thank you for correcting me. You're not going to get half of a half of a half.
Say there's three women are married, okay, from the same husband, and does she able to go back to his earnings and all that, or you know what I mean?
So
Each of them are collecting off of him, right?
they're collecting their own benefit based upon his work history.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So hypothetically, you have somebody who's been married 3 times. Each of their marriages lasted in excess of 10 years.
Right.
Let's say that individual retires and their full benefit at the age of 67 is, say, $2,500. Well, each of those ex-spouses, if they chose, could file a claim and get $1,250, half of their ex-spouse's benefit.
But is the first wife entitled to it first, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Does not matter. It's not like a race to the courthouse, like most divorce. You're not racing that way. Okay. So this is also a bit of a misunderstood situation. With Social Security, you are allowed once in your lifetime for a do-over or a reset of your strategy. If you make the wrong choice, it's okay. We are human. We make mistakes. The Social Security Administration basically says you're only allowed to make one mistake in your life. So you can only do it once in your lifetime. The application to withdraw your benefits must be made within 12 months of making the original claim for benefits. So If you filed for Social Security and you realize, ooh, I made a mistake and it's month 10, better get in there and make that change quickly. Now, in this situation, you must repay all the benefits that you and your spouse received during that 10-month period. So that could be a substantial amount of money. The Social Security form, SA 521. And again, you have 60 days to change your mind. So you can get once in your life that you can make a change, but if you change your mind on changing your mind, you have 60 days to roll that back. It's not a very often used strategy, but it is available for you if you feel like you've made a mistake or you come into some new information that makes your claim better if you were to do a different strategy. You can do a do-over. Okay. Other factors that could reduce your Social Security benefits. We'll go to your question on taxes, right? That's what everybody cares about. Number one, taxes. The second one, we already kind of discussed it briefly, but we'll get into more detail on the retirement earnings test. We talked about STRS. We're going to talk about the windfall exclusion and government pension offsets and Medicare premiums, okay? So get ready for the lightning round. Here we go. Okay. A certain percentage of your benefits can be taxed. Now, if your entire income is based on Social Security benefits, you're not going to run into this issue, okay? You're not going to have your Social Security taxed at that point. However, if you have other income, you still work outside of the home after the age of 67 or your full retirement age, and you're making an income, or you are pulling money from your 401k, your IRA, your taxable accounts, well, that's going to create income for you, and it's going to create a situation where, in most cases, let's kind of look at the married filing jointly. If you're married filing jointly, those thresholds, if you make basically, and we'll do the actual calculation here in just a second, but basically that combined income of half of your Social Security. So let's say that your Social Security is $2,000 a month, so $24,000 a year. Okay. What the IRS is going to do is they're going to look at that and they say, okay, we're going to take half of your Social Security, that $12,000. We're going to add that to whatever other sources of income you received. We're going to run the numbers. And if that number is in excess of $32,000, then every dollar of Social Security above that number will be, you have 50% of the Social Security at that point would be subject to tax. That's not a 50% tax rate. I want to make sure that's very clear. That is not a 50% tax rate. That is basically saying that $12,000 of your $24,000 in Social Security benefits could be added to your income for tax purposes. So whatever tax bracket you're in, that $12,000 would be added and taxed at that rate. You get above this second threshold, you're above $44,000. So this portion is taxed, half of it would be taxable. Once you get over this, now we're talking about 85 cents on the dollar. If you get $24,000 worth of benefits, we're talking close to, what is that? $20,000, $21,000 that would be added on your W-4, 1099, and taxed at your marginal tax rate. We'll talk about ways to mitigate this in just a second to get rid of it. But the idea here is if you make income after full retirement age and you're filing and you get your Social Security benefit, if you're making more money than these thresholds, you could run into a situation where some of your Social Security would be considered taxable income. Okay. Good news, you live in the state of California, at least the ones that are not on Zoom. I don't know how many people on Zoom are not in the state of California, but you're in the state of California. Silver lining, Social Security is not taxable in the state of California for state income tax purposes. It's only federal. I will say that loudly. No, that is true. So state of California does not tax Social Security income. Yes, sir. Chris, yet. Yeah, that's why he said say it quietly. There. Shh. We're going to add that to the gas tax. So, California, there is that silver lining. It's not taxable in the state of California. Okay. So here's the retirement earnings test. This is if you file for Social Security benefits prior to your full retirement age. I'm going to assume everybody in here, let's say it's 67. Let's say you file at 62 or 63. Well, the retirement earnings test only applies if you are working and receiving Social Security benefits prior to reaching your full retirement age. So in that situation, instead of saying, hey, I'm 67, I'm full retirement age, and I'm still working, IRS doesn't care. Social Security Administration doesn't care. They care for taxation purposes, but there's no penalties. We're not going to be doing this retirement earnings test. In this situation, if you're 62 and you filed for benefits and you make, it's actually increased because this was 2021. I believe this number now, Chris, 19.5, somewhere in there. It's somewhere in the 19.5 range. But basically, if this occurs, if you are working outside of the home and you're getting your W-2 wages and you're filing for Social Security prior to your full retirement age and you're still working outside of the home, if you make in excess, let's just call it $20,000, well, every dollar or every $2 above that number, you reduce your benefits monthly by that much. Okay? That's a penalty, not for the current year, it's for the following year. So in some situations, you could have a situation where your Social Security may be cut in half because you made too much money. Because the Social Security Administration at that point is kind of saying, hey, wait a minute, you're double dipping. You're taking benefits before retirement, full retirement age, and you're working outside of the home. We can't have that. We need to stop that behavior, right? Now, if you're in a situation where you have to retire, perfectly fine. In a previous life, I worked in a trucking industry, and one of our drivers, we had a driver who would drive trucks from Bakersfield to Fresno and all over the place. He was a retired guy. Charles, loved the guy, great guy. But every August, he'd come in and be like, today's my last day. Can't work anymore because I just hit this number. You'll see me in January. He knew exactly how much money he could make to the penny. And he used it. So it was like, see you later, Chuck. As long as if it's self-employment income and you're the question is that does that hold true for self-employment income? If you're pulling a W-2, yes. If you're working with your hands, yes, it counts. Okay, so if you're making more money and you're filing your benefits early, you could run into this scenario. 1099, but still anything that's 1099, yeah. If it's passive income, not an issue. We're talking rental income, something like that, that's fine. But if you're getting a 1099 because you're actually doing work and getting paid for it, then it's going to create a situation like that. Okay. $21,240.
The earnings test for 2023 goes up to $21,240.
There you go. Gotta love inflation, right? Okay, so in the calendar year in which you reach that full retirement age, that $1 in benefits is deducted for each $3 you earn above the higher rate from the previous year. Now, this is not a permanent loss. Okay, so if you make the mistake in 1 year, let's say you're 62, you file, you're getting the early retirement benefit, you work, you run into this. Well, the following year, you're going to have that reduced benefit, correct? Well, as long as you don't hit that threshold in that following year, your benefit's going to go back to what it should have been. It's not a permanent loss. And then the other flip side of that is, again, same situation. You know, if you're let's say your benefit at 62 is $1,000 a month, and you run into this, and all of a sudden now you're at $800 a month. Well, when you get to 67 and you're still working, you're going to go right back to that $1,000 a month. So it's not a permanent loss. Just understand that there could be some situations where you could have a problem with the retirement earnings test. Okay. Windfall elimination provision. This is something that gets really misunderstood. Basically, if you're earning a pension, CalSTRS, CalPERS, and you worked in the private sector and paid into Social Security, and you're fully, insured and you have your benefit, you did your 40 credits, but now you're a teacher. Well, you have to understand that CalSTRS and Social Security, they communicate. So the idea here is you can't double dip and take from both. You've got to, you'll be taking STRS, and that benefit is going to be a certain amount, and the amount that you would be receiving from Social Security would be reduced by the amount that you're receiving from CalSTRS. So in this case, the maximum amount that you'd be able to receive from Social Security is about $400 or $500 if you are, taking STRS or some other kind of pension where you are ineligible to receive full benefits from Social Security. Okay, this is something that's, it's not right. I look at it like you paid into it, you should get it. But unfortunately, this is the way that the windfall exclusion rate, the elimination provision is there. Okay. Correct. Yeah. So the question was, how is that calculated? Basically, like I said, so CalSTRS and Social Security communicate with one another, right? So they're going to know. So you can't lie and say, "Oh no, I'm not taking STRS at all." No, I don't. What STRS? Who's that? Yeah, they communicate, so they'll find out. Yes, sir, Chris.
I was just going to clarify. So the numbers that you're seeing up there is the maximum amount that your Social Security would be reduced if you participated in both programs.
Correct.
So 490. So if you worked outside of like a school district and you're a teacher and you worked a lot out of the school district and say your benefit's $2,000, the most that they will eliminate out of your Social Security benefit is $498 in 2021. So you'll still get the rest of it. You just won't get that amount.
Correct.
And go ahead. It's deducted. And so whatever amount you're seeing, I tell people worst case scenario is you're going to lose $500 of that.
Right.
Why many teachers get upset, and I understand it, is their benefit, lo and behold, is $500. And they're told you get nothing.
Right.
And the reason is I did some research. I used to be a special education teacher myself before I became an advisor. There's an element of Social Security where the less you pay in, the bigger amount you get by percentage. So you barely paid anything in, but they're giving you a pretty big benefit compared to what you paid in. So they're going to keep up to $500. But if you have a $2,000 benefit, they're not going to keep all of it. They're going to keep $498 of it. So just
and in many
cases, yeah, what your benefit is.
Correct. So if you've only worked maybe 10 years in the private sector and you paid into Social Security for that 10 or 12 years, your benefit's not going to be $2,000 a month. You might be lucky to get $600, $700, $800 a month. So in that case, reducing it by 500, your benefit would be $300 or $400.
So I have PERS.
Yes.
And I pay into Social Security.
So you have a benefit that you would be able to receive. So each pension's a little bit different. PERS, not all PERS, but some PERS you pay into Social Security. Okay, so you're eligible for both. Yeah. Okay. Running low on time, but I'm going to do this right here. Government pension offset, same kind of scenario, very similar to the windfall, but basically it's a reduction in benefits based upon the fact that you're receiving a government pension. Okay. Medicare, we're going to go real quick over this because Medicare is not something that we're just going to talk real quickly. So once you turn 65, you want to enroll roughly 3 months prior to the age you turn 65. Okay. And that's basically that. Okay? If you're already receiving Social Security, your Medicare payments will come directly out of your Social Security. Yes, ma'am? If you don't file at 65, there's some penalties if you don't file on time. I don't know exactly what the penalties are, but yeah. And so that's a better question for our good friend Paul Sheldon. Correct. Right. And so, but the ideal is, yeah. So, but the ideal here is that you want to file as close to your 65th birthday as possible. And so if you're, my birthday's in May, I would want to be talking to my buddy Paul Sheldon in February. No later than. Okay. Yes.
But again, if you continue to work and you have private insurance through your employer, you don't get penalized.
Yes, you still want to file for Medicare because in most cases it will become either, depending upon how you do it, but it'll become either your primary or secondary insurance to your private insurance that you currently hold.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So you still want to file and make sure that you are in the system. Okay. Okay. So everybody wants to know how to get rid of that Social Security tax thing, right? 50, 85%, whatever it is. Okay. We're going to do a real quick dive on this. Don't have much time over it, but we can talk about it. A qualified Roth IRA distribution is completely tax-free. So if you have a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, you take a distribution from that, it's completely tax-free, right? And it doesn't even count as a W-2, right? Or a 1099. You're not receiving that as income. So that qualified Roth distribution is not included in your gross income, thereby not used in that calculation prior. So no minimum required distributions from Roths, which is great, but here's the beauty part about it. Let's do a quick calculation. Couple one, using a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k. Okay. We have a total income here of roughly $67,000. We have some CDs, we have some dividend stocks, we have some tax-free kind of stuff. We have some IRA income of $25,000 that we're taking out, and our Social Security benefit of, say, $22,000. Total income, $67,000. Well, we're above the calculation, right? We're above that $44,000 calculation. Of this number is considered taxable income. Okay, so the combined for that is $56,000. Now, we use a Roth IRA. Same situation, same income. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Roth IRA paying $25,000 a year out of it. We have benefit, same as far as the income is concerned. However, because this income is from a Roth source and thereby not taxable, your combined income for tax purposes on determining how much of that is taxable, you're under the criteria. Remember, the criteria started at $33,000, right? You're under it, meaning none of your Social Security would be taxable. So if you're in the 12 or 22% tax bracket, that becomes a real nice number right there. I like zero. Okay. These are hypotheticals, obviously, but just a thought process of using Roths in a way that can help reduce your overall tax burden. Yes, sir.
Traditional 401k, you don't pay taxes while you're putting it in. In the Roth, you do it after they took the taxes out, right?
Correct. So in a traditional IRA, the question was, the situation for traditional versus Roth, it's tax me now or tax me later. So the Roth is tax me now, right? As I'm putting the money in. When I start taking it out, I don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's the kicker there. So if you're doing some planning ahead of time and you got a couple of years, maybe it's time to start kind of deferring some of that to Roth if you can, if it makes sense, just specifically for this scenario. For
for contribution to Roth.
same as a regular IRA, the contribution limits would be 7,000, 7,500. If you're over 50, it's 7,500. Right. And there's also, in most cases now with 401ks, there is a Roth option in most 401ks now. Which, yes, sir.
You have to have a Roth IRA in place for 5 years before this starts taking effect?
Correct. Correct. You do have to have the Roth IRA opened and basically running for about 5 years from the date that you open it. So if you open it late and you're already taking Social Security income, well, you're going to have that issue. You're going to have the taxation. But basically at that point, as long as you wait until that 5 years is up, now you can start taking the income from your Roth and reduce your tax liability. Okay. So misconceptions. I can receive two benefits simultaneously. I think we already discussed that. You can only choose one, your benefit or your spouse's benefit. The best benefits that I receive will exceed the payroll taxes I paid over my career. Not necessarily. You could file and then pass away the next week, right? And this is my favorite. Social Security is going bankrupt. We hear it all the time. It is not going bankrupt. It by definition, it cannot go bankrupt because current workers are paying into the system and retirees are taking money out of the system. What we're talking about is in about 2035, let me see if we can do that, the uncertain future, Social Security is going to have sufficient resources to pay out benefits as they are currently doing until about 2034, 2035. We keep hearing different numbers. I've heard 2033, I've heard 2036. But active workers are paying into Social Security. And this goes back to the Reagan era, 1983. I don't want to get too much in the way of history because we're running low on time. But the fact of the matter is that law in 1983 created the Social Security Trust Fund. There was excess money coming into Social Security from workers during that time. The excess was being put into this trust. The trust is what's being depleted now because there's more money coming out of Social Security than what is going in. The depletion of that will happen sometime around 2035 unless there's something done between now and then. If we don't have any changes in Social Security payments or changes to the laws or changes to eligibility and those types of things, then the trust fund will run out and everybody's going to take about a 20% haircut. So if you're making $2,000 a month in Social Security, you're now going to be making about $1,600. Okay, does not mean you're not going to get any benefit. It's not going bankrupt. It just means that everybody's going to wind up taking a little bit of a hit, roughly a 20% hit, once that trust fund runs out. So a few things can change to fix it and shore it up. I won't get into that because I'm not a politician. I don't even play one on TV. I can't stand politics. But that is the idea. So if we don't have any changes to eligibility, tax rates, benefit payments, then we're going to run into a bit of an issue in about 10 years. Yeah. Convert to a tax-deferred Roth IRA. We just talked about that. Really great option if you're wanting to reduce your tax liability. Putting this knowledge to work, you can do it yourself, work with others. I always like this option, work with us at MoneyWise, or procrastinate, like my brother does. Okay, we're here for, as MoneyWise, we're here for your wealth, your taxes, estate. We are a holistic financial advisory firm that will go through each and every part of your financial needs, figure out what makes you tick, what you need, and build a plan for you utilizing all of these things, whether it be wealth, tax, and or estate planning. Was anybody here for the estate planning deal that Garrow put on about a month and a half ago? Yeah, pretty good one. All right. Everybody saw that before. I'm going to keep on moving. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that a lot of that information is very heady and very, 30,000 foot up. I highly, highly recommend going to ssa.gov, get that information from there. Probably 80-90% of your questions that you would have on an individual basis would be able to be answered through that website or with a phone call directly to somebody at the Social Security Administration. However, we would love to sit down and talk with you. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for a minute. We can answer some questions. Thank you so much. Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, as Just said, he'll be here for some questions. So everyone is, I know, very individualized in the questions that you want to ask. So Justin will be here, and I always recommend as you head into retirement, always talk with the financial planner so they can get with you one-on-one, and you'll know there won't be surprises when after you sign with Social Security. Say, oh, I should have done this, or I could have done this. And
but if we catch it in a year, you can absolutely
just got to give all the money back.
Right. Yeah, just got to give. So on your table, what you see there is a
Yes.
survey. Please fill out the survey. Be brutal. Tell me I was horrible. I've got broad shoulders. I can handle it. Please fill that out. Let's leave that at the front table. And thank you so much for your attention. It was a lot of fun. I'm a kind of a geek. I like this type of stuff. So I don't know why, but kind of my thing. Did you have one more question?
And I'm just reading, I haven't pre-read it. So to clarify, so if I'm able to work until 70, I can file for my husband's benefits or my own benefits, and survivor benefits are no more, correct? My husband is twice as much as mine. I think the benefit was twice as much.
Right. So yes. So if you're filing on your own benefit at the age of 70, or you're filing for your spouse's benefit, chances are, if this individual is filing at 70, their benefit is going to be better for themselves to file on themselves rather than filing on their spouse, because you're saying that the benefit is twice as much at full retirement age.
I think in this case, the survivor benefit is twice as much as the individual. So,
right. So it almost behooves you to take your own benefit at that point at the age of 70, because you get that extra kicker, the 24% or whatever the number is higher.
I got you. And to this person, like we said earlier, you definitely want to sit down one-on-one as that time gets closer.
Absolutely. So. And there's a lot of calculations that we can do based upon looking at your statement, your Social Security statement, to actually put in some numbers and run some scenarios on which one winds up potentially being the better option. Now, that doesn't mean that we're recommending that option, that everybody's situation is different, but we can give you a couple of different scenarios. Yes, sir.
You have dividend income or other income every year. Your Social Security will be taxed at 85%.
Only.
Oh, no, I meant 85% of that Social Security money will be taxed.
Would be considered as taxable income. Correct. That is only if that dividend income exceeds that $33,000 or $44,000 threshold.
In other words, the total income that you have coming in,
correct,
has to be more than that 44,000.
Correct.
So if it is going forward for every year, the Social Security will be taxed.
This is correct. So yes, if you're receiving dividend income, passive income, any source like that, that's going to be considered in that calculation for your Social Security, the taxable situation on the Social Security.
You have another question? You may have one more. Nope, same one. I think we got the one.
I think we got
survivor benefit question answered. So
okay. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for your attention. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully you learned something from today. And if you didn't, it's Garrow's fault.
And please keep an eye out. We'll have another workshop coming up in October. We'll be covering college funding for your loved ones. So think of the 529 type funds available to investors. Huge thanks to Safe1 Credit Union. There's quite a few of the team members here, including the president of the bank, Mr. King, Mike George, and a few other team members. and as few as a couple of our MoneyWise team. If anybody wants to say hi or ask any questions, we're available. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I can tell from your question. You got good news. Congratulations.